Hello and welcome to the Birchal Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Macfarlane, and today I have with me Glennis Winnett. Glennis is the founder of Formulite, which is a health and wellness company focusing on providing scientifically formulated meal replacements that are both nutritious and cater to various health needs. Welcome, Glennis.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. So I got to work with you a little bit on your recent campaign with Birchal when you were raising funds for Formulite, and I felt like it was a really interesting process working with you in particular, as you had come to us, you had some really great dreams of, advancing Formulite and seeing where it was going and getting on board some new investors through CSF. Why did you decide to come through crowdsource funding versus other traditional forms of fundraising?
Look, the journey for me started when I identified the fact that we had this future growth, and at the pace that we had been going on for the last 6 or 7 years, we'd been self-funding, and to promote this future growth, we needed more than our own self-funding. I then reached out to my network. So I have another number of close friends who are in business and have their own businesses, and basically picked their brains to see what they recommended. Should I look for an angel investor? And to be honest, I had never heard of the concept of crowdsource funding before until I met with a close friend of mine who also knows Matt Vitale well, and he introduced me to the idea of crowdsource funding and thought it would be a perfect fit for Formulite, who was also looking to expand our exposure and to get more eyes on the brand, and to do that he thought it was a great fit. And the more I looked into it, the more I researched and spoke with people who had used crowdsource funding before and looked at the different platforms, the more I realised that not only would this help bring money into the company, but it would expose us to a lot more people. It would sort of create ambassadors in investors, and it would also help me retain control and maintain control of my company.
Yeah, great. I think that's a really great takeaway from doing equity crowdfunding is there's a huge marketing element to it, and you are getting exposure to a lot of different audiences through that marketing process. Do you find that your sales uptake increased during the campaign that you did with Birchal?
It was already on a growth that we had forecasted. We did not see any sales increase, but for us that wasn't the main focus. The main focus was just to get the brand out there, to get more eyes on the brand, more people aware of Formulite. Some things aren't measured by increased sales, and that's one of them, that brand equity. And for us, it launched us as a more serious player in the market because we were looking for this crowdfunding. So our audience is not just the consumer, but our audience is also healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
And when we reached out to our database of health professionals who we have been working with since day dot to promote or recommend our products to their patients, all of a sudden they were seeing that we were no longer this small little business. We were actually a serious player in the market, and it gave us more credibility, that we felt that we'd already gained a lot of credibility having been in the market for an extended period of time, but now that we were actively looking for investors, those doctors and dietitians were taking us more seriously, and were seeing we were getting that credibility.
So a lot of people, I think, when they think meal replacements, they think, these things that you find in Priceline on the shelves there, and they don't consider that they might actually be available through a doctor or a healthcare professional. What would you say your key point of difference is in terms of the market?
We position ourselves as a new customer segment within the meal replacement market as being a premium product. And this is a premium product that can be recommended by doctors and dietitians and any other healthcare professionals such as endocrinologists, or basically healthcare professionals with patients who need a supplement that will help them lose weight and lose weight effectively, and that meets their protein requirements. So when I first developed the business, I knew there were a number of meal replacements out there, but I also knew that those meal replacements, for various reasons, weren't well tolerated by the consumers. Consumers were having issues with bloating, they were having issues with satiety, which is that feeling of fullness. They disliked the sweet taste of the shakes and the powdery mouthfeel. And I knew that when I developed our product, we would have to address all of those pain points and provide a premium product that was gentle on the stomach, that kept them feeling full for longer with a high amount of protein and with excellent customer service. So whilst our product has premium nutrition, we knew that the packaging also had to be premium and our customer service had to be premium. So every touch point in our business is giving that premium effect. And that's how we've been so successful with the finding healthcare professionals, not only to recommend our products, but we have over 50 healthcare professionals in Australia who on-sell our products, so they feel that strongly about recommending our products that they on-sell them. And as well as now having over 500 pharmacies around Australia ranging our products. And I also believe that our equity crowdfunding campaign has assisted in opening some of those doors into that pharmacy sector. This time last year we were about 300 pharmacies and now we're over 500. So
wow.
We've seen huge growth in the last 12 months still since going through that the equity campaign. And we continue to develop premium high protein products that set us apart from other shakes, bars, soups in the market.
Yeah, that's incredible. And would you say that your products are influenced by your consumers, or is it people who are on selling your products? Or now that you have a number of new shareholders on board, do they influence, the trajectory of your new products that might be coming out?
I would say it's the feedback we receive from the consumers, and that feedback is sometimes, quite often, via the healthcare professionals. I know that when and the rest of my team have been instructed to do this, when we meet with a healthcare professional, one of the most important questions we ask are, from our suite of products, is there anything that you feel that we are missing that you feel will benefit your patient? And we are constantly collecting that feedback from the healthcare professionals so that when we go on to do our R&D for product development, that we have a whole suite of ideas what is actually going to work. That and I've got to say that when we had our webinar with Birchal, we had a number of our customers were present on that webinar, and a number of their questions were, when are you bringing out a new flavour of your shake? When are you bringing out a new flavour of your bar? Or even just words of encouragement. I love your bars. And so it comes from various sources. And a number of our investors are customers of ours. And if they weren't before, they are now because they've tried our products and they love them so much.
It's so incredible to hear, and it's so nice that people who use your products are coming along for the journey with you. They're the ones who want to get involved, and they're going to be ambassadors of yours going forward because now they're part owners in the business. What does that mean to you as a founder?
It's very humbling. And it almost makes me a little bit emotional because being a CEO of a business can be a very lonely journey. It can be quite stressful. I find I pride myself on always checking in with my staff. I'm always very conscious of how they're travelling, where they're at in their role, and I even just the last I've sort of set up a regular check-in period with my staff just to sort of say, how are you going? And quite often it's just an opportunity for them to share ideas with me for our business, which are very valuable, and we more often than not do follow through with. But then sometimes I'm like, well, when is anybody going to ask me how I'm going?
Yeah,
but you don't get that. But now that I've that's just part and parcel of being a CEO. But I can say that having investors who have watched my journey, and a couple of comments that I received through the Birchal process and especially afterwards from investors was, how could we not invest? We saw how invested you were, how dedicated you were, how you were putting in 150% to this raise, and how could we not support someone? Obviously, this is a business that you feel so passionate about that was almost like my passion was catchy, and they were saying, well, we want to be on this journey with you because we can see that you are going to continue to drive this business with all effort that you can.
100%, and I can say that firsthand working with you. It's something that really struck me when I would compare you to other female founders was your genuine self-belief. A lot of female founders I find have a lot of self-doubt and they're really nervous about where the crowdfund is going to go. There was never a moment where I felt as though you didn't believe that it was going to work. You had full conviction. I think it really shone through in your campaign, and I think that was something that differentiated you from other CEOs in that you had a wealth of some great investors that were going to get on board, and that was really clear. Do you feel like that's kind of part of your strategy in business, is knowing your product, believing in your product, and knowing that it's going to change the lives of a lot of patients?
Most definitely. I've not only do I know that it changes lives, and not only do I receive the feedback on a daily basis, and it's heartwarming when I come across someone who says to me, oh, I can't even imagine having another shake. I've tried every weight loss shake in the market. They haven't agreed with me. So please don't try and sell me your product. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to sell it to you, but I'll give you a complimentary sample, take it away, have a try and see what you think. And then I check in with them a week or two later and they're like, I can't believe it. Finally, a shake that doesn't upset my stomach. I actually like the taste, and I can stick to this. And for me, I'm like, now that is why I started the business. I have this, and like you said, yes, I do have this conviction. I know our products are premium quality. I know that they taste great, and majority of people who try them love them. Taste is a very subjective thing, but even so, I feel that we've created a product that caters to majority of tastes. Yeah,
amazing. So I know that this is quite controversial and really topical at the moment, obviously in the weight loss space. Certain weight loss drugs that are coming into the market. How does that rhetoric, inform your business, and what do you do to try to separate yourself from this harmful rhetoric around weight loss drugs?
I've seen with every new drug that comes out, there's always going to be someone who has an adverse reaction. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be those people who have the adverse reactions who are in the vast majority are the loudest people.
Totally.
The people with the negative information seem to be the loudest. People who have had a positive experience seem to just enjoy the ride, and that they go about their day without sort of screaming it from the rafters. And I suppose weight loss medication is quite similar to bariatric surgery, which is where my company got its roots. in that there is this stigma about, oh, you're on weight loss medication, or you had bariatric surgery, you're cheating. That's cheating for some. And it frustrates me to hear that that dialogue and to see people saying that it's a way out, and comments online such as just eat less, just make better choices, just move more. Just yes, you need to do all of those things, but people's biology does not allow them to do that. They are wired in a different way. They have their hunger hormones are such that they are so powerful, and it's due to their DNA. And not their control. And so many of these patients, when they get put on the Ozempic and they find that they're able to drop this weight, it changes their lives. And why shouldn't they be able to change their lives? And before too long, yes, these new drugs coming out will have approval, and there will be less stigmatism around the fact that people are taking medication away from other people living with type 2 diabetes, and that's going to come around. And I have always been, whilst my business is my focus, I've always been in healthcare. So I started off as a radiographer, specialising in MRI. So I've always been in that healthcare space because I enjoy seeing people improve their health. I like to nurture people, and I'm so proud that I've created something that does help people live healthier lives. And I also feel that these weight loss medications are going to help people who haven't been able to lose weight live healthier lives, live longer lives, be more active, be around for their children in their later years, be less of a burden on our healthcare system. And so whilst it's quite interesting how a number of people have like, oh, Glennis, are you scared that these weight loss medications have come out and, this might impact Formulite? No. I love seeing that there's another tool for people to help them lose weight. And so our whole ethos at Formulite has been, well, we can see that weight loss medications are around to stay, but we also know that just like bariatric surgery, weight loss medications result in rapid weight loss, and that rapid weight loss needs to be supported with high protein supplements that minimise muscle loss and maintain a person's nutrition so that then they don't become what's called sarcopenic, which is usually something that happens to people in their elderly years where they lose their muscle mass and become frail. So we're wanting, with any weight loss technique, you are always going to lose a third of your muscle mass and 2/3 of fat. Okay, and so doctors and dietitians are very mindful that their patients need to maintain their muscle mass. So our communication has been, okay, you're on these weight loss drugs. Now just let's make sure that you are looking after your health as a whole. Yeah, it's great that you're losing weight, you're dropping dress sizes, fantastic, but let's look after your muscle mass and keep you strong, and also look after your metabolic rate, because the more muscle you have, the more fat you will burn. And also make sure you're getting your daily intake of your vitamins and minerals so that you're not becoming malnourished. So yeah, we've seen it as an opportunity and another market that we can promote our products to.
That's awesome. So you're kind of going hand in hand. So somebody who might be on a weight loss drug would be taking your products to ensure that they're losing weight safely and sustainably.
Yes, well, to maintain their muscle mass, exactly. Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning a lot, actually, from you.
Thank you.
And your background, I think that's such a testament to the business, is that you're reputable. You know what you're talking about. This is science-backed. It's not just another weight loss drug that's on the shelf at Priceline. You're using it to really improve people's lives, and it's got the research behind it, and I think that's really, really valuable. Do you find it damaging for people's attitude when, you see in the media a lot of celebrities using drugs like Ozempic to lose weight and lose weight quickly in a non-safe way?
Well, there's always the issue that someone might be popped on a weight loss drug and they might not be in constant contact with their healthcare provider. Yes, the healthcare provider the doctor wants their patient to have a reduced appetite, but not to the point where they're not hungry and they don't want to eat anything at all. And I think it's a touchy subject, because I think it's great that these celebrities are using weight loss medications to support a health journey to better themselves, but at the same point in time, these weight loss medications are being taken away from people with type 2 diabetes who do need them, and they are slipping into the hands of people who don't need to lose weight and are basically just taking them for vanity to lose a couple of kilos, and who are not in a position where their overweight is affecting their health. And I think that is my concern, is that but that's always going to be the case. There will be that sub-segment of people in the community who are using medications for the wrong reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Formulite, obviously it's for sustainable. Once people have reached their goals, do you see a drop-off in your customer base, or is it something that you want your customers to use long-term?
At Formulite, we are very much of the ideal that we like to educate our customers on healthy living. And if they can get if they can set up their routine, their daily, weekly routine, so they're getting all the right vitamins and nutrients from whole foods, we wholly encourage that. But that is not the case for the majority of people who live busy lifestyles. They are still skipping meals, even when they meet their weight gains. They are still too busy to meal prep. They are skipping meals. Then they become hungry because at the end of the day, because they're not met their protein goals. So even though we see a lot of people use our product to drop the kilos and lose weight, a number of them still maintain like one shake a day, just so less of a meal replacement, but more of a protein supplement, just to keep them feeling full during the day. Because it's hard to get that protein intake. It can be very difficult to maintain your protein during the day. Whereas, one hard-boiled egg gives you 6 grams of protein, whereas if you were to have half of one of our meal replacement bars, you've got 10 grams there. It doesn't require boiling, doesn't require chilling, and it's very convenient. You can just, the convenience of having it in your bag. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. So in terms of where the trajectory is for Formulite, where do you see it going in terms of, will you be expanding into new territories, into new audiences? What are you thinking Formulite looks like in the future?
Yeah, well, that's something that we have had this evolution of customer segments over time with Formulite. So initially it was supporting patients undergoing weight loss surgery or bariatric surgery in their pre- and post-op nutrition. Then it organically moved into supporting people who have a medical necessity, that being type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea and other related obesity comorbidities. And over time we have found ourselves being, for that time poor person who is trying to get nutrition in, they're skipping meals or making poor choices. And so we've moved through those sort of 3 customer segments. Now we're looking at that customer segment of supporting it's probably back in the medical necessity, but the weight loss drugs, supporting those people on the weight loss drugs. We're also, in the last couple of years, with our recovery protein, which is a collagen water that also has electrolytes to support rehydration. We've found that protein has been very popular amongst people post-exercise, even though it was developed for the post-surgery weight loss patients. So we're sort of also targeting that sort of active fitness market as well. And now with our meal replacement bars, they have been more popular than we could ever have imagined, and that convenience, high-protein sector. So I think that's what's taking us into making our bars and our proteins more accessible to people who are in the office or workspace. So going into large corporations who have little cafes within them, we're looking at sort of expanding into the little cafes as a protein, quick, handy protein, possibly looking at service stations. I know personally I walk into a service station and I want a high-protein snack, and it's very hard to get my hands on one when I go into a service station.
And it's something healthy even. You go into a service station, everything's full of sugar and there's no nutritional value.
Then there are those people travelling. So you look at the people who are travelling either by car or by plane. So I've, one day I would love to see our high-protein bars in airport lounges, business lounges. I would love to see them in hotels. Like at the moment when I travel, I take, everywhere I go, my team know that I always take a blender bottle with me. I take some sachets of shakes, because that's my breakfast every morning. And I always take a couple of bars because I'm on the road. But, if I was to have gone to a hotel and they've got a protein bar sitting there as part of, the little snack bar, I would jump at the opportunity to have one of those.
It's really smart, and a few customer segments that I hadn't even considered for something like that, because it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you're immersed in this world every day. You consider where you could go next. What are your avenues for getting into those markets?
Good question. I have a number of people who have gone into those markets and they have offered to make introductions for me. I suppose at the moment my main focus is in that pharmaceutical market, and that is occupying all of my time at the moment because there's still a lot of room for growth in Australia. We also would love to see our products go overseas, so we're exploring some international export options as well. But once again, it's a time, finding the time to explore those options. It can be an issue sometimes.
100%. I think that's a common issue that founders face, is they don't have enough hours in the day, and then you think, I'll just get some more people on board, but then you don't have the capital to do that. Are you looking at raising funds again in the future to further expand your growth plans?
We believe we will have to, yes. We think that we'll definitely have to go to the market again to raise more capital to help grow the business.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. I think that's a constant struggle for business founders, is finding the capital to grow. You need that investment piece. What would you say the hardest thing is about being a business founder?
Good question. I would say the wearing of multiple hats, and the fact that regardless, the buck stops here. So, everything always comes back to me. And whilst those are the hardest things, they're also the things that I enjoy the most. So I love wearing multiple hats. I love the fact that as a founder, you've started from the ground up. I've done every job. I've been the social media manager. I've been the third-party logistics person. I've packed my own orders. I still detail. I still detail pharmacies. I still go in. I still, from time to time, do training in pharmacies. So I'm still there at the face of it, seeing what the pharmacy assistants think of our products, getting their feedback, and having. But that makes me a better leader, because as I grow my field force, I can relate to their struggles whilst they're in the field. I I don't have unrealistic expectations of them, but I still know what they're capable of, and I know what they can fit in a day and what they can't, because I've done it myself.
I can absolutely relate to that in managing a team, and you say, I've done this before, I know what you can do, and I know how long this will take. Do you find, as somebody who has worn those hats in the past, that your expectations of people, it can be difficult to delegate and, hand the reins over to somebody else?
Not that I don't have difficulty in handing the reins over to other people. I just have very high standards and I keep having to remind myself that my standards apply to me and not always to everybody else. So as a founder, of course, I'm going to do it at the most highest standard, and I'm going to go that absolute extra mile. And whilst my staff do go that extra mile, I know that they won't go to extremes like I do.
I think that's such relatable content, and often when I speak to founders, that it's so hard for them to, give that extra work to people within the team or trust people to do as good a job as they would do. And they have to remind themselves, this is my business, this is my passion, my baby, essentially. Of course, no one's going to feel the same way that I feel about this business. Of course, no one will do and sacrifice what I do for this business. But it's about getting the right people on board. And how do you go about finding the right people for your company and trying to retain those people?
I basically, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but you have this gut feeling. And not only do you have a gut feeling about people, it's about, you just have to take a chance on people. And I've got to say, a number of our job interviews, especially for our interstate employees, have been done via Zoom, and that can be difficult when you're not meeting face-to-face and sort of picking up on their body language and things like that. Yes, we've had a few staff members not work out, but the trick is we've realised when it's not working and we've done it early. And when we do find an employee that is working, and how we retaining them it takes a number of skills. First of all, you need to empower them. You need to encourage them. You need to give them a voice, and I find that that's really important in our office. Regardless of your role, you have a voice. You need to give them. You do need to delegate. You need to hand over everything to them. Give them an opportunity to make mistakes. We're not all perfect. I make mistakes, but then make sure that they've learnt from those mistakes, and then they just go on to improve. And that's what I've seen in my team. I think when someone first comes on board and, they might make a mistake, they're sort of holding their breath waiting to see how I'm going to react. And I'm just like, let's learn from this. What happened here? How can we improve and go forward and make sure this doesn't happen again? And if that person takes that feedback on board and improves and learns from it, then, we're all happy, and it goes on from there. So I know that I show my team respect, and I get respect in return. Being a small company, they are exposed to a lot more of the goings on within the company than big companies, and never would that, it's very rare that I'm like, well, that's a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know. Most of them, being such a small team, they all know and what's going on from day to day, and that empowers them and makes them feel that they're a real part of a journey. They're a real part of this business, and that's when we make these wins. This is something I've been guilty of the past. We've as we grow, when you're in it day to day and the growth happens, sometimes you forget to celebrate it, and that was one of it. The what was said to me by one of our investors. Actually said to me, she said, make sure you celebrate those milestones. You know, it's really important. Otherwise, you just keep going along, and you don't feel like you've achieved anything. But if you do look back and celebrate those milestones, you're like, all right, we got to 500 pharmacies. All right, we've got this account on board. We've got that account on board. Okay, we've done, this was a fantastic campaign that we ran, this marketing campaign. So, yeah, it's just stopping, making sure we're celebrating those milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a founder, there's a lot of things that you can be proud of. I know you were talking about making mistakes before. What would you say the biggest mistake that you've made in business?
I thought you might ask that today. I tried to prepare for it, and even now I don't know quite how to. I don't feel like I've made any mistakes. I don't, because everything we've done, if things haven't gone the way that we've wanted them to go, a relationship with a wholesaler hasn't gone the way we want to go, I don't see them as mistakes. And I know this sounds corny, but I see them as learning opportunities. And I've always done that. I'm like, okay, this hasn't worked out. What did we learn from this? How do we make sure moving forward we don't make that, in inverted commas, mistake again? And we grow as a business. And I say we because, you know, I am part of a team, and when I need to make decisions, I get the opinion of all of those sort of experts around me that can help support me in that decision. I don't go in it blindly. I do all the research I can, and know that, you know, everything we do comes with its learnings.
All right, let's rephrase this.
Okay.
What's the biggest learning that you could take from being a business founder?
Sorry, a lot of silence there. I'm thinking.
Don't have
the
to
brain's
apologise.
ticking over.
Well, I appreciate that you're thinking long and hard about it.
I think that the biggest learning for me was not to be afraid of reaching out to my network. To really embrace your network that you have around you. And I did that in a lot of the important business decisions I've made. I've always known that, having come from a non-business background, that I had a lot to learn. And don't be ashamed of saying, oh, I don't know, can you explain to me? And so I've, even going into the equity crowdfunding campaign, I consulted with so many of my friends who have been very successful in business and bounced ideas off them. This is what I'm thinking of doing, da-da-da-da-da. And I just getting their feedback, it was actually, in a way, quite cathartic, because it gave me the opportunity to have them turn around and go, look, Glennis, I've been following your journey. You should be so proud of yourself. And you don't hear that very often.
I bet.
And I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk to my network more often, because they're actually making me feel really good about what I've achieved. But yeah, just reaching out to my network. People want to help people. And I suppose you surround yourself with like-minded people. And over the years, I've connected with people who, obviously, I'm there for them, and then they're happy to reciprocate. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. Know when you're maybe a little bit over your head, and that will help you not make those mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people can learn from that, and I feel like I'm going to write that one down as well. But thank you so much for coming on to speak to us, Glennis. It's been really valuable to see your journey and to see you grow through that perspective of equity crowdfunding. And I'm really, really excited to see how Formulite develops and goes on in the future. So thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you. Look, I would like to finish by saying, and this is one question I hope you would have asked me, but you didn't. How did the equity crowdfunding campaign help me in more than a monetary sense? Okay. In that the whole process of going down the equity crowdfunding journey, I found made me a better business owner. It forced me to understand my business better, and it forced me to really focus on the direction I wanted to take my business in. I'd been so busy with the day-to-day mechanics of the business that I actually hadn't sat down and gone, do I have a business plan? What is my business plan? Where am I going to go from here? What am I going to do if I raise this? What am I going to do if I raise that? And whilst there were points in time when I was quite emotional and quite stressed about the process, because I'm a person who I'm like, I need to know what the result is. I'm very impatient. I need to know what the result is. And everybody's like, no, don't worry. You're doing well. And I had that confidence that I knew we were going to do well, but I just wanted to know what the result was. But I know my business better now. I know the direction I want my business to go in now. And I've become a better business owner because of that equity crowdfunding campaign journey.
That makes me feel really grateful to hear that that's something that you took out of it, because I think a lot of people forget that. They think it's just raising capital. But the actual journey you go through as a founder, learning about your business, learning about yourself, about your team, what everybody's capable of, I think is a completely invaluable experience. And I'm really glad that you took that away from it, and I'm grateful to see that that's really grown you as a business owner and as a person.
Well, creating that final document for our investors was something that we are extremely proud of, and that I'm like, look at this document. This looks amazing. Not only visually and aesthetically it looked amazing, but it just sang our history. It put it on paper.
Yeah.
It put our journey and our history on paper. And that was part of when what I was saying before, celebrate those milestones.
Yeah.
And that the Birchal campaign really made us put it on paper and say, wow, look at what we've achieved. We've got something to be extremely proud of that has amazing potential.
I bet you felt that way when you made your pitch video as well, and you're sitting there writing a script and you're saying, look at these milestones we've achieved, look at this traction we've had to date, look how many people we've helped, how many people believe in our product. Like, it's pretty huge.
It was huge. And yes, sitting in that, watching that video play back, I'm like, goodness, that is something that we're so proud of. And then seeing, that was my first experience of using also some PR to help promote the company. And that took me out of my comfort zone, but at the same point in time, I loved it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these people are picking up the story and putting Formulite's name up in lights. And when I saw that, I was just blown away.
Congratulations. It's a huge feat what you've achieved, and you got so many investors on board, and you should be really proud of yourself, and you probably don't hear it enough. And you should be absolutely amazed at what you've achieved. It's an incredible business model, and you've helped a lot of people at the same time. So congrats.
Thank you, Emily. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on, and can't wait to see what you achieve, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from you very, very soon.
Thank you.